welcome to my video titled Putting Everything Together. Hopefully you've been following the other videos. We've configured Phantom, SOAR, we've configured the ability to call an HTTP, in this case basically curl, we've got REST APIs, things like that. Just ignore these were different things from legacy items as I demoed the ability to call different my Splunk server in different ways. The principle here, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to send a message to my Splunk server. And so I've got my little REST API call. Here's my value, my generic message, and it's ready to go. Anything that comes down this pipeline will then send a message off to Splunk. So let's go run it. I'm just going to put the number 1 in here. And it succeeded in running. So now all I need to do is come over to my Splunk instance. I'll refresh the page. And there is my generic message. Oh, and it picked up the severity info. Whatever. I guess I should have put a little bit of space in there. Point is, I was able to send a message over. But that's not really automation yet. I am actually sending in the hand-baked message. What I want is an event from Splunk to trigger this. So what we need to do is we need to turn a little bit of dynamic capabilities on here. And so let's jump over to my Splunk app here. Let's go open this here, and the first thing we're going to notice is I have the ability to put a message parameter in here. I don't want this baked in message every time. I want the message to be dictated by an event coming in to Splunk. So if I go, so for example, just follow with me here. I'm going to grab a parameter. Doesn't matter what I'm doing over here. I'm just grabbing it so I have it nice and filled out because it's going to put this artifact : star. I'm likely to type that wrong. What I care about is this very last variable, and I'm going to call it some variable. I'm going to change it in a minute. This is the variable that's going to be in my event coming from Splunk. That I'm going to drag, and it's going to put that value in between these curly brackets, and so I can actually erase this my generic message and just go straight to that. If I do that, then I can actually hit done, and what's going to happen is whatever is in the sum variable. So I'll hit done. That's saved. Now if I go and grab an event, so let's go look at some of my events here. I'm at the artifacts. I have values foo, sid, tag. Oh, well, that's not very helpful. So what if I'm going to create a variable that comes into my artifact. We're going to build this, and I'm going to make it called foo for the moment, just because I can. We'll do it better when we actually take it another step further, but we want to pass a value in from Splunk, and we're going to capture that and put its value in there. So I have right now the variable foo and bar. Okay, so what we come back over here to the Splunk, my little, and we're going to change this from being some variable to the name of that variable, which was foo. Now it's going to go, if an event comes down the pipeline, it's going to come down here. It's going to grab the artifact, Ceph being the fields, and saying, hey, these are the fields that come from an event. And I'm going to look at the event, and it's going to grab the value of foo, which in this case is bar. And it will put that, it will send the bar as the message that instead of my generic message. If that makes sense, we're going to put, and so now, what's the artifact number on that? The artifact number is, sorry, here it's 32. So if I want to test it, I'm just going to come over here, Playbug Debugger, and I'm going to, I got to hit save. And I'm going to type 32. Not 322, 32, and I hit test. It's going to run it. I got no errors, so we're good to go. And if I come to ingesting new logs, this my generic messages severity equals info should disappear. And that should be, I should have a brand new message. And it's bar. Looks like I need to get an and in there. So that stops showing up. Let's go check that. So if I go bar, hit save. test. I come over here, let this refresh. And now it just says bar. Cool. All right, so I've now grabbed from a container in Splunk and put that value into my node. That's cool, but that's still not really dynamic. And it was all done by just hitting this plus. If I do another one, I'll get a new message, and that's in the one. And so I'm going to erase that. I want you to watch. Okay, so wherever my cursor is, it's going to inject a squiggly marks. I've got a 0, so the next one will be 1. And if I hit it again, I'll get a squiggly marks 2. And basically, it's just going to put the values of these parameters in based off what's here. And as a general rule, I just typically grab the first thing in here, write it out, and then I go put my value. So I used foo. What's another variable I could use? I could have put the SID in there. So if I come back here and I do SID, SID, that would supply the SID. Now it won't work in my if I put an SID at the very end of this thing, it wouldn't know what to do with it. But you can inject stuff in there, and that becomes a little more dynamic. But again, I'm still basing it off of an alert container over here. How do I get one of these containers in here? So let's take the next step, and I'm going to take this code out for a minute. We're just going to make ourselves a foo equals bar. Remember, we needed a variable foo. So we're building our own container, our own alert to send into Phantom, and we're going to send in what we want. So I'm going to change foo to a custom message from me. And then I'm going to do eval some other value equals ABC. All I'm really wanting to show you is that as I make variables here, these variables will end up getting sent to Phantom. And now there's a custom command here that we can use. I like this because it allows me to control my code. You can do other ways. You can save searches. If I save as, I can make it an alert, and one of the options is to send it to Phantom, SOAR. But I'm going to show you the code that goes behind it so you can control it at any time you want. And the principle is you to pipe, send alert, send to Phantom. This is always the same code every time. And actually, so is this. The next command is param.phantom_server equals, and then you're going to call out your Phantom instance. What do I mean by that? If you remember when we set up our Phantom, our SOAR, we set up an instance here. Mine happens to be called my SOAR. And so I'm just going to grab that name and I stick it in between the quotes here. So that's where this my SOAR comes in. Then you guys send in the sensitivity and the severity. I chose amber and low. And then I say, what label do you want to use? And in my case, I'm using events. Until you get more comfortable with it, just always use these defaults. Param.sensitivity equals amber, param severity equals low, param label equals events. As we put more tutorials out, hopefully this becomes more clear what these fields are. But for now, just leave them as is. And so when I send this, what I should get is, notice there are 3 fields. If this is doing what I'm hoping it's going to do, it will send me a container. That's the term Splunk Phantom uses, but we typically refer to as an alert, some form of container to SOAR. And in that container, there will be an artifact with at least 3 values, one of those values being the time, one of those values being foo with a value of custom message from me, and another one, some other value with ABC in it. And so let's go look at SOAR right now. If I come back to sources, based off my time at 14:30, I haven't received a message in 21 minutes. So if I send this in right, I should get a message in. It should be ID number 33 because they just auto number, and I'll be able to go into it. And so let's see if that works. So I'm just going to run this command. And it successfully ran. I've got no errors, and so it should have gone off to Phantom. Let's go see. And there is a brand new, it calls it an ad hoc search result. There are ways of changing the name, but for now I kept that send alert. It's going to be here in these commands. You can change the name. I want to keep it as simple as possible. So I'm letting it stay as ad hoc search result. You'll see here is the events. It's a label as events. Why is it called that? Because you put here param label equals events. We have sensitivity of amber and severity of low. We have amber and severity of low. All right, so if I go click into here, we have one artifact. If I click here, yep. If I open this up, we have foo and we have some other value, just like we set into the system. Cool. All right, so let's make that work then. Let's just see at this moment. Well, if we look over on the timeline, we can actually see nothing has happened. And I'll explain that to you. Notice there's no activity here whatsoever. That means while I got the container in, it never actually ran through the playbook. But let's go manually call the playbook out. So what's its number? 33. So I'm going to go run an artifact number 33, playbook debugger. Right, remember, it's going to grab the foo field here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit save and choose playbook number 30, artifact number 33, hit test. One action succeeded. What I send in? I sent in a custom message from me. So when I reload this page, a custom message from me. Sweet. All right, so we're close, but there's a problem. One, I have to send that alert off manually. All right, we'll deal with that in a minute. The other is it comes in here and then I have to run it through the playbook. That's a lot of work. I do want to mention, we talked about activity. Notice now under the activity, it shows me that it ran a playbook, Splunk web messages, and it has please run, and I can get back the results if I wanted to see them. I can see values coming back. This is out of the scope of this for the moment, but anyway, you'll be able to see the stuff. Close that out. What I want is for this playbook to run automatically. All right, so how do I do that? I come into my playbook, I'm going to hit settings, and this operates on star. These are labels. And remember, if I looked at my labels, the label on this thing was a event. Let's just go back and we can actually see that. It's a labels event. So what we want it to do is we want this playbook, we could do it on everything, but in the best world of worlds, you do not want every artifact coming in, every container to be run against every playbook. You only want those that apply. And so I know that it's coming in as an events, so I'm going to call it only operates on events. I'm taking that star out. And so that means only events can come in here. If I try to run this as, just to show this, I'm going to run as an event. Notice I'm missing the S. This is events. This is event. I wish that those are default values that come with SOAR. I wish they didn't have it written that way. It's kind of confusing, but remember, what is mine? Mine is events. And so there's an S on there. And if I go and try to run this, hit save, and I attempt to run it on 33, it's going to come back and tell me can't play because my container is an event and it is not event. My container is an events, so it doesn't work. So basically it's saying these things won't come down the playbook. That's cool. All right, so let's get the right one in there. Let's put events in there. And just for kicks and giggles, I'll show you that it works. Now that I've switched it to events, hit test, error message goes away. That's interesting, not sure why I got that. Did I run on the right playbook? 33, I did, okay. That's odd. Oh, it's not new. Okay, switch it to 33. All artifacts, now the message goes away. Just make sure you don't run it. If you've already run on an artifact that's been done, you need to use all artifacts. New artifacts, if it's already been through the playbook, it'll mark it as not a new artifact, and that's what that error was. So just when you're troubleshooting, make sure you click all artifacts. It'll save you some time. This will allow you to troubleshoot again and again until you're happy with it. So error message gone away. Cool. But so I've restricted it down. Now the next thing I need to do is turn on active. Active means this is now going to look for any new events coming into Phantom, and if it is an events, it'll run it. If it's not an event, it'll just ignore it. If it's not an event, if it's something else, it'll just go somewhere else. So let's see this in action. So I'm going to hit save. Now, in theory, I can go to my little command here. I'm going to change this to automated. Oh, that was really bad. Automated message from Phantom. Now I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to go send this into Splunk. Okay, the alert's created. And we notice that I've got my Splunk SOAR notifying me on my desktop. So I can actually see a new event, number 34 just came in. That's kind of cool. I'm going to come over here. There it is, number 34. I open this up, and we can already see, whereas the previous event didn't have anything when we started, this thing has actually run content because the playbook was set to be as, what was the term? It was set as active. All right, so that means without doing anything, I should just be able to come over here, refresh this page, and I've got myself a new message, automated message from Phantom. Well, that's working really well. Now, what if I want to make this a lot easier? You've got this command here. This kind of stinks to have to type this whole thing in, right? So what we can do, I'm going to come over here. We're going to go to apps. I'm going to go to my lane edu. I'm going to make a new dashboard. And in this new dashboard, we're going to call it send a message. Make it shared an app. Going to make a classic dashboard. And all we're going to do, we're going to take this, we're going to add an input, a text box. And let's put a button in there. Button, who's got the button? And then we'll add a panel. And we're going to take the exact same code we have over here. And we're going to put it in a new statistics table. Put it in there. Now, what we want is this message to be supplied by the user. So I'm going to type user message. I have videos. If you need to search, if you don't know how to do this on dashboards, how to make tokens and things like that. Again, not in the scope of this one, but I do have plenty of videos that show that. If I remember, I might link it down below. But anyway, so the concept of a token is a variable that is supplied from somewhere else. You start it with a $sign, end it with a $sign, and then you put the name of the variable. I'm going to just grab that user message, add to dashboard, and then I'm going to change this here to give it the token to be. Now, when you write a token, in this place, you don't use it. When you call it, you use the $signs. When you're declaring into this nice little GUI here, you don't need to do that. And let's give it a message. What message do you want? All right, hit apply. So now if I hit save, I'm going to put in here a phantom message for the ages. Hit submit. It's going to, now there's another issue. By default, these commands are not allowed to run. You're going to have to click the red button and say run query anyway. I will, now that we're doing that, I should make a video on how to fix that so you don't have to get prompted every time. But anyway, it now sent a message. If I should get notified any second up here that I got a new message from Phantom. Maybe it'll show up, maybe it won't. I don't know. All right, we go back. There's number 35. It was created by search one. Again, we can change the name of that, but if I go in, it just ran a few seconds ago. I come in, I look at the artifacts. We can see that is my phantom message for the ages. I come over here and I do a restart on this reload. We'll see a phantom message for the ages. So basically now I have, to sum this up, I have turned my action to receive custom input using a variable here. I have created a Splunk search that will create that variable, allow me to put whatever message in, and then I use the send alert command to send it to Splunk. And then I automated my playbook. I restricted it down to the labels that I want to run on, and then I made my playbook active. And then after I did that, I went to I turned it into a dashboard in which I let the user put input in there, and I take that query that we used, I tokenize it, put a token there for foo, and now the user can supply any message, and we can now send messages to each other using the Splunk message system. I'm going to repeat this in the next video, but the next video I'm going to use the banner and the global banner. It's a really cool feature. It's far more obvious when you send these change those, but I'm hoping to reinforce this principle. I wanted to start with Phantom and keep it simple. People want to get really complicated with what they want to do with their Phantom, and I think it's a lot easier when you start with easy wins that you can do with your own system. You don't need a firewall that you're configuring. You don't need to change your proxy, anything like that. You can actually use the systems that already come with Splunk and just modify them. And so that's why I've done it. I hope this makes sense. If you like it, I hope you'll subscribe and keep coming back. I appreciate all the comments I've received over the months I've been doing this channel. If there's stuff you want to see, please message me, join my Discord, send a message to me there. I love hearing your guys' feedback. Anyway, I hope this helps you move from being a lame analyst to a Splunk ninja.